Welcome to lesson 3.2 of our 1B unit solving equations. In this lesson, we're going to be using the distributive property to simplify and solve expressions. So in order to solve multi-step equations, you first want to clear the equation of fractions and decimals. Then you want to use the distributive property to remove any parentheses from each side, combine like terms on each side, undo addition or subtraction, and then undo multiplication or division. So in looking at our first example, we have 3a plus 6 plus a equals 90. So the first thing we want to do is combine any like terms. So we have that 3a plus 6 plus 1a. And again, remember the identity property allows me to put that 1 there. Our 3a plus 1a gives us 4a plus 6 equals 90. You then want to undo the adding 6 by subtracting 6 from both sides. And we are left with 4a equals 84. In our final step, we're going to divide both sides by 4, and we are left with a equals 21. So for our next problem, we are building a rectangular pen in our backyard for our dog. And one side of the pen is going to be against the house. So if you imagine, here's our house. And then the pen is going to use one side of the house as part of its enclosure. So two of the sides are going to be X. And the other side is going to be 25 feet. So since perimeter is, our fence is going to be the perimeter, we're going to add X plus the 25 plus the X, and we have 63 feet of fencing. So that's going to be our total. So in order to figure out what's the biggest fence or the pen we can build, we need to solve this equation for X, and that's going to tell us one of our dimensions. So we combine like terms and we get 2x plus 25 equals 63. We're then going to subtract 25 from both sides, and we're left with 2x equals 38. We're going to divide both sides by 2, and we get x equals 19. So the maximum fence length we can build for our dog is 19 feet. In our next example, we have, we can see we have the grouping here, the parentheses, so we're going to need to use the distributive property. So in this case, once we multiply the 2 times the x and the 2 times the 3, we are left with 2x minus 6. As when we talked about our properties a little bit, a lot of students will forget to multiply that 2 times the 3. So you want to make sure you're doing that. And then that equals 8. We then can undo the subtraction. And then divide both sides by 2, and we get x equals 7. Here's our next example, and this one in particular, we have a fraction. And so we want to clear our problem of fractions. So in order to do that, I recommend you think about your denominators and your LCD. So the least common denominator. Okay, so we have 2 and 5, so our LCD here is going to be 10. So what I do is I multiply everything, and I mean everything, in my equation by 10. Okay, and that is the multiplication property of equality that allows me to do that. Okay, so now that I have this 10 in there, I can kind of reduce and simplify. So I know that 2 goes into 10 5 times, which in the end is going to leave me with 15x for that expression. 5 into 10 is 2, so I get 2x here. And then 17 times 10 is 170. So now looking at this equation versus the original problem, which would you rather be given? Which was easier to work with? It's much easier to get rid of those fractions by multiplying by the LCD, okay? So now we're just left with 17x equals 170. We're going to divide both sides by 17, and we're left with x equals 10.